What's up, guys? Welcome back to another training vlog. Today we have our second lower body session of the week. So for the first block, my power slash Olympic lifting block, we have full hang snatches. We have 10 minutes to build up to a heavy single and then just repeat the heavy singles till the timer goes off. Then for my main strength movement of the day, we have deadlifts for 3 sets of 4 to 6. And in the same block, we have banded pogos. And then for accessory strength movements, we have leg press and hip thrust for two sets of 6 to 8. And for the last block, we have some more single joint accessory stuff. So we got some leg extensions, GHD Nordic hamstring curls, and then calf raises for also 2 sets of 6 to 8 reps. So the 10 minutes are done, but that would have been a PR, so I'm going to cheat and do one more set. No. Unfortunately, did not PR today, but I'm like this close to getting it, so hopefully I get it next workout. Some things that I'm trying to work on is I really struggle at making bar contact at the hips area when I do my cleans and my snatches. So since I'm not making contact with the bar, sometimes the bar gets too far away from my body, which just makes the lift harder to complete. Also, I think that my overhead squat, I probably need to work on my overhead squat some, because when I got to the bottom of that last attempt, I felt like I couldn't come back up from the hole. So that, and probably work on more shoulder stability strength, because as you see, like I can catch the snatch, but then it starts just falling forward. I need to think about ripping the bar apart, engaging my lats to help stabilize the bar up top. But other than that, the bar, everything else felt fine. So now I'm gonna get set up for deadlifts. Deadlifts and the pogo jumps went well. For deadlifts, I know there's a lot of people who say like, oh, like deadlifts aren't meant for athletes or the risk isn't worth the reward. I would say that it's true that deadlifts and no lift is mandatory. Um, Exercises are just meant to place a certain stimulus on the body. So if you want to just have a heavy pull or a hinge, you don't have to conventional deadlift. You can sumo deadlift, you can RDL, SDL, you can do a hip hinge on the GHD. Like there's so many different exercises you can do for the same movement pattern and stimulus. So yes, deadlifts aren't mandatory, but I wouldn't villainize a certain exercise because it's deemed unsafe. I think any exercise has inherent risk, but I also think that any exercise can be safe if you build up to it in the capacity. So like what people say about deadlifts is that athletes or just people in general like ego lift on it and they might break their back or herniate a disc or something. But that's not due to deadlift itself. That's probably just due to poor programming or poor technique and a whole bunch of other factors that um, contributes to pain or injury risk. So, like another prime example is like preacher curls. Like people don't like preacher curls because they see a lot of videos of people ripping their bicep at the bottom. Well, that's probably just because they weren't doing preacher curls with full range of motion throughout their training block or whatever. So whenever they finally load it up to a heavy weight, and the weight gets too heavy to where their arm happens to extend all the way, then their tendons and muscles not used to that force, and then boom, it rips. I mean, same thing like sprinting. People say like, oh, sprinting is dangerous because you can tear a hamstring, but it's only dangerous when you sprint without preparing to sprint. You know. So that's my little tangent on that. And then on the resistant banded pogo jumps, I like those because since you're holding onto the resistance bands, the more you pull on the resistance band, the more it resists you because it's a rubber band. So as I jump up, I have to accelerate because the band's constantly pulling me back down. And then once I go back down, the band has all that potential energy that I put into it from jumping, and it stats me down even faster than gravity would, and that overloads my stretch shortening cycle, and that just helps my tendons with being more springy and more explosive. So just doing continuous pogo jumps with bands, I would argue, is a little better than just holding weight in your hands because, like I said, you have to accelerate through the band, and then at the same time, eccentrically, it's overloaded because the band pulls you down even faster than gravity can. All right, done with my accessory strength block. For the leg press, I'm just trying to get as much knee flexion as possible. So that means letting the machine come all the way down. Really, I'm stretching out my quads. Because I know a lot of people, when I see them do leg press, they do like they load up the machine, put like 4 or 5 plates on each side, and like do like these half reps. But really trying to strengthen my quads to a full range of motion. And unfortunately, the leg press doesn't allow me to go throughout my full range of motion mobility wise. But I'm not really going to panic about that. As long as I'm going through the full range of motion of the machine, it's good enough for me. Because I deep squat, and also whenever I full snatch and full clean, I'm getting down to that deep squat position. So I have enough volume doing deep squats. And then for the hip thrust, your glutes are your most powerful hip extender, and arguably your glutes produce, or is one of the largest contributors to force production. Hey, Ms. Mick, how you doing? Yeah, go ahead. Yes, ma'am. The glutes are one of the most powerful force producers when it comes to like sprinting and jumping. So you really want to strengthen those through hip thrusts. And yeah, I got my last block coming up. We got leg extensions, Nordic hamstring curls, and calf raises. All right, so we're done with the workout. For the leg extensions, you guys saw that I was using some extra yoga mat pads to put on where my leg goes. I did that to increase the range of motion because that machine, it doesn't let you go back much, so you don't get much knee flexion. So just add some range of motion to leg extension. There in your quads, you have 4 quad muscles. That's why I call it quads. But there's one called the rectus femoris, and it crosses your hip and knee joint. So when you do like squat patterns, as you do the squat pattern, you're lengthening the rectus femoris at one joint while shortening at the other because it crosses both the knee and the hip. So a good way to train the rectus femoris specifically is by doing a leg extension because it keeps your hip stable while your knee does all the movement. And so I just want to increase the range of motion on a leg extension to get more stretch on the rectus femoris, which is arguably better for muscle growth. The science is kind of new on that. Another way you can train erectors femoris is doing sissy squats, which you're going to be right here, and you squat forward, really emphasizing forward knee translation while keeping your hips stable, straight. On the GHD Nordics, just really trying to go slow on the way down and shoot myself up, shooting through the hips and contracting my hamstrings. And then once I'm unable to do full concentrics, I do assisted concentrics. So I'll go down slow still and just push off the handlebars to get my little boost up. And then lastly, the calf raises, just strengthening my calves. If I was trying to grow my calves for more of a hypertrophy stimulus, I would put plates where my toes go so I can go more into dorsiflexion to get a deeper stretch in my calves. But I'm just trying to get my calves stronger for athletic performance, like jumping. So I'm just worried about the concentric movement of it, the top half. So just going up, take a 1 second pause at the top, and come back down to neutral. But yeah, that's all I got today. If you have any questions about fitness or training, put them down below. And thank you guys for watching. God bless.